set of core standards and values, guess what? The quote says if you don't stand for something,
you're going to fall for anything.
Okay? So when you're in a relationship, so end up what happened at the end of the story, they did end up splitting. Okay? Now, I ask this question all the time because she made a quote in there. She said, I'm responsible for me and I'm responsible for my daughter, but I'm not responsible for Louis. By a show of hands, how many of you agree with that? How many of you disagree with that? Okay? Okay. Felicia, tell me what you disagree about.
I feel if you're in a relationship, you should be in it together and responsible for the whole family.
Okay. And there's no right or wrong answers, but listen to this. And all of us, we have to accept this. That's where the core standards and the core values come in. I'm just going to use a few examples. What is enough? Now, what I do respect about them, they were married. Some of us do these when we're just boyfriend and girlfriend. So there you go, you're lacking some of your standards. Even a married couple has to have some type of standard because you can't be, here's what a lot of us as females, we get into this is the bad things that we have bad. Because of who we are, we're natural nurturers and natural givers, so we have a tendency to take care of.
Or we want to hold it down.
Relationship and you're taking care of your man, that's not a healthy relationship. Your man should be, and so should you. The challenge becomes we think relationships are 50-50. But that's not true, because a half of a man plus a half of a woman, if you do fractions, that does not equal a whole. But a whole man plus a whole woman equals a whole relationship. So everybody should come into the relationship with something, and everybody should have certain standards. I'll just give this as an example. My brother-in-law, I still call him my brother-in-law, but he's my ex-brother-in-law, and my sister were married. Well, my sister was married to somebody who was addicted to crack cocaine. I'm telling you at night, I take off my wedding ring and I don't think anything of it. If my sister did that at night, Felicia, do you know what would happen? It would not be there the next day, okay? He sold the car to the crack man. He would take the check from the bottom of the checkbook so you didn't know that the top one, you would not be able to know until it might be too late when you started having checks on it. So when is enough even when you're married? Everybody is different. Some people, when I was a victim of domestic violence, and some people, they were in that group counseling that I was in. There was a lady who was married for 25 years, and her husband never put his hands on her, but he would belittle her verbally and mentally, and she was divorcing him. There was another lady in the room where her boyfriend, not husband, he pistol beat her, and she had an open wound on her head. He had pistol beat her, and she was pregnant. She lost the baby. She was pregnant again. And she said in our group session, she said, he promised he won't beat me again. Everybody has a saying in the mind of what's enough is enough. So all of us, nobody was right or wrong. Those of you who raised your hand and those of you who didn't, nobody is right or wrong because everybody has a set of standards of what they will accept and will not accept. So those of you who said you would have stood by your man and those of you who said you would not have, neither one of you are right or wrong. Everybody has their own boundaries, okay? And so that's what happened with Ioka and Louis. She wanted more for Louis, but Louis, although some parts of that, I think they were playing, like when he said, I'm mom and dad, I think they were kind of joking around with each other. But when she said to him, Louis, I want you to want more, I don't think there's anything wrong with your man, you wanting your mate to want more, whether it's on the female side or the male side. If I ever dated somebody and they did not have their GED, I want my man to want more than not to have a high school diploma, okay? And I remember when my husband got laid off, and I told him, because he already had his bachelor's, but he always wanted to go back to get his master's, and I said, well, financially, we can afford you can go to school full time, but my husband is old school where he believes that he provides for the family, so he definitely, that was totally out of the question. But I would be willing to support him because I know he's a go-getter. But for a man to tell me, baby, I'm going to drop you off at work in your car, and I'm not working, that's a pet peeve of mine.
Not going.
My students that they're in class, the females, and their mate stays up here outside on that bench and walks around this building for 6 hours. Please tell me if you have anything else you could be doing. So it's little things like that we got to ask as individuals, what are your standards? Do you have any? Ebony?
It's about the person knowing that what kind of person that was when they got with him. If they knew this person was not the kind of person to be a provider, then they know that this person may never be a provider, and you always will know that. You pick this kind of person. How I feel about Ioka is like she said. She knew they didn't have education. She knew that they didn't have much, and she got into this with nothing. So she basically set her own self up for failure in denial about the fact that no matter how much and how hard she loved him, he was never going to go where she wanted him to go anyway. Even though she wanted that for herself, the whole point was, in the beginning of it, she said, my family told me, and I knew he wasn't very educated, so if you know he's not very educated, then you cannot expect him to go in the direction you're going.
That's a good conversation piece. What do y'all think about that?